Deal with it. Don't go anywhere.
I owe so much to who I am today, to being able to explore who I wanted to be in those spaces.
Hold on for the loud beep.
Why is everyone making so much noise with trying to film a thing?
I was a quieter kid when I was younger. When I was around my parents, I was a ham. I was bullied because I was quiet, because I had thick glasses for many years. And up until about middle school or so, I didn't have a lot of friends, partially because we were moving so constantly. So I was kind of playing solo, except for like a handful of people that I clung to.
Yeah, no, it was weird because like at one school I would be cool, and then at the next school I would be a total loser.
I was very awkward. I had really curly hair. I was not slick. I was not a lady killer at an early age.
I was a very secure and kind of cocky little shit. I was always a lot more mature, probably because I was an only child. I hung out with adults more.
I was super overactive, hyperactive, ADD, all that stuff when I was a kid. I had an English teacher in the 5th grade, encouraged like creative writing and some like dramatic readings in front of the class. It would just wake up a part, something inside of me that you know I hadn't really ever explored.
I am a hermit and extremely introverted. And people always think that's a weird thing for an actor, but like I feel like I was more confident as a kid than I am now. Because when I was little, I was like, yeah, what do you need me to do? And I think that was kind of the thing of getting into print work or doing commercials. It's kind of like you need a kid to be able to do that.
I mean, I had a SAG card at like 7 months old. I was a working kid. My mother was a working actress at the time. I mean, my father was writing scripts and producing stuff.
I was in theater from a very early age. My first theater production was, I was an Oompa Loompa in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when I was like 6. And then from there, I did a bunch of local theater shows.
I tried out. I was incredibly shy because we moved around a lot, you know? So I tried out for Romeo and Juliet in middle school. I was terrible. Like, I talked so quiet that the teacher couldn't hear me, like from the stage to her seat in the front row, and I couldn't talk any louder than that.
In high school, that I probably owe much of me doing what I do today. He was my English teacher. His name was Jack Campion. And he was just that sort of dead poet's teacher. He was passionate and would like orate at us in class, and he would just have Hamlet open and semi-act it out with us, and he encouraged me to, after The King and I, to try out for his play, and that's when I knew that it was something that I wanted to stick with the rest of my life.
I mean, first it was like dance, and dance went to musical theater, and then musical theater went to just straight acting and Shakespeare.
Family friends of ours were living in Los Angeles, and they, their kids were in acting. We all went to this audition, and the casting director came out and was like, hey, do you want to come in and read for this? My mom was like, oh, I don't know. I walked in and, you know, I was able to read very early. Did the part and I got it, and it was a movie called Lionheart.
Gavroche is the youngest of the French revolutionaries. Although tough on the outside, he has a heart of gold. Alexander seemed to find that combination in 11-year-old Sam Riegel.
My mom was a stage mom. She got us involved in theater at a young age, and my sister too. But I really did like it, and I still have this unending urge to perform and have that sort of creative outlet. So she definitely kept checking in with us, because there's also a lot of tears when you're a kid and you audition for something and you don't get it. I don't know what it was that resonated, but I was into it.
Child acting is weird and makes you a little. It's a weird thing to have happen to a person. And my experience as a child actor was weirder than most. My parents were not gung-ho about it, so there are aspects of the business I just didn't have to deal with because they were not pushing for it. They were very trepidatious about everything I did. There were a lot of good gigs I turned down. Everything my parents ever said no to ended up probably being for the best. My mom had a good spider sense about these things.
You've got a lot of guts.
Can I have a moment to myself, please?
I had no interest in being an actor. For being surrounded by entertainment, you know, with like my parents and grandmother in the theater, and kind of growing up around actors to a certain extent, I had no interest. And it was after school one day, it's my freshman year, and I was sketching in a sketchbook while I was waiting to be picked up from my parents. And Mr. Kilpatrick, who was the theater teacher at my high school, kind of stopped and said, "What are you drawing?" And the more we talked, he was like, "You ever thought about auditioning for, like, we have a theater audition coming up soon. You should check it out." And I was like, it's not really my thing. You know? For the times I was on stage in this costume, reciting these lines and interacting with the other performers on stage, I wasn't looking inward. I wasn't judging myself. I wasn't, focused on my discomfort. And that was very kind of unique and thrilling to me. I met a whole new group of friends through it, and it just kind of expanded from there.
I think my dad was a little bit like, oh God, we're going into acting, but I think my mom just recognized that all the energy that I had as a kid, and trying to give me different outlets, whether it was sports or art classes.
I was doing choir because you can kind of hide with that. We did a yearly musical, and we were doing My Fair Lady, and I was a freshman, and at my school you couldn't get a lead part if you were a freshman. But the girl who was a senior that got the lead of Eliza came up to me afterwards, and she was like, "You should audition for theater because I think you're really good." And so I went and auditioned for the next theater production that they had, and that's when I started doing theater.
It's funny though, I also feel like that was the age that I learned self-deprecation, where I was like, oh, I know how to combat this. I can make fun of myself as well and make everybody laugh.
No choir, no chorus, no instruments, nothing like that. That was like just something for me that I did off hours. As being an insecure kid, I'm sure it was more like if I were to do a school production, there would be expectations on me that I couldn't live up to. Oh, we'll make Sam the star because he's a real actor. And then it's like, oh, he sucks.
Okay, Sam, I'm gonna need 5 small pain reactions and 5 large pain reactions.
Can we get some closed mouth ones?
When I got to NYU day 1, the teacher came out on a stage and told us, anyone who could imagine themselves doing anything else, to get the fuck out. Because the percentage of people who go on to make an actual career and a living and able to financially support themselves only from acting is something like, I think he said 2% or 4%. And then I wandered into this forest of anime dubbing at first, which led to video games and more traditional animation. So the entire time that I've been working in this funny farm in Los Angeles, I've been supporting my acting career with directing. So I've never been straight up 100% actor.
I did a few shows there in Dallas, and then my cousin Tyler was like, "Hey man, I'm going to California, you wanna go?" And I was like, "Oh no, God, that sounds so risky and like brave and courageous, and Jesus, I don't even know how to make a living as an actor." And he's like, "Pretty sure California's where you do that." No, I have to get like a career going here. And he's like, "In Texas?" I was like, yeah, I mean, they shoot stuff down here. He's like, "Nah, come out, man."
And then after coming out to Los Angeles, voiceover. And I mean, and that was the other thing that I actually ended up discovering that I had no idea that I would have fallen in love with in the way that I did, which was everything behind the camera and producing and writing and stuff that I'm doing now.
I was doing theater, but I was sure I still wanted to be a biologist. I was studying science and everything like that. Science lab. I was watching this, so I never watched the show. I haven't seen an episode of Dawson's Creek. But I was home and I was watching a behind the scenes thing. For some reason it was on TV, and Katie Holmes was being interviewed. And she was in high school, and she was talking about how she auditioned for the show, but she almost didn't take the part because she was doing a play in school, and she would have let her whole production at school down. So, she just seemed so much like a normal person talking about all of these things, and it was the first time that I realized, oh my God, you can actually pursue this as a career and just be human doing it. And so I turned off the program as soon as it was done, and I called up my mom and I was like, I want to be an actress. Like, I never realized I could actually do that. I want to be an actor. And she's like, Laura, you can't be an actor. I'm like, I'm gonna do it.
But yeah, when you're performing for that many people and you're surrounded by professional adults who are like looking at you when you step forward to sing your song on stage, it's scary as shit. But it's also the most exhilarating. Like I always got stage fright. I still get stage fright. Even now on our Dungeons and Dragons show, I get stage fright. Mainly what I worry about on our show that we do now is like these ads that I do at the beginning, because it's not like there's a rehearsal or anything. I just kind of wing it, and I worry if I'll mess something up or say something totally offensive. But that's kind of what I love about it and about just performing in general, is like that. Ooh, it's about to start. It's about to start.
You there. You lot. Hello. The name is Terrian Darrington.
Tallis and I met through cosplay originally. It was barely through voiceover. We were both part of a G4ia. It was an award ceremony. And they had a bunch of cosplayers there, and I was dressed as Kingdom Hearts Sephiroth, and he was dressed as the Mad Hatter from Batman. And so we met there for the first time and became close friends, as he had been doing voiceover for a bit, and I was dabbling in the same space a little bit. As production stuff started to be, really hit YouTube, and people began to find affordable equipment for hobbyist filmmakers, I decided, a few friends of mine, and we had some ideas for some sketches. We had some ideas for some shorts we wanted to do. And at the time I had a job, and I was like only one of us that had one. So I was like, I'm gonna buy the camera, buy like a microphone, a boom mic. I'll teach myself how to do Premiere Pro and how to do After Effects. And so I became also an editor and a post guy. We began to do our own little internet shorts and fun things on the side.
We were all lowly internet shits. And all of that kind of culture came from, well, this writer's strike is going on. I was getting frustrated because I kept getting cast as these super trite roles, and no one wanted to give me a chance in Hollywood. You have to show them what you can do. No one's gonna give you a chance. And once that started clicking in, that led to me doing Batgirl.
Well, I didn't want to be in voiceover. I had a friend at the time, Nick DeBar. He was really into anime, and we would watch it together. And I just got really, again, like my brain that was really into the idea of how do you break this down, how do you make this work, got obsessed with figuring out how to do this. And so I made a demo. After shopping that around for a while, someone took pity on me and let me direct a few anime dubs for Pioneer Entertainment. And I slowly kind of built a reputation as the weird guy who does the weird shit, because my stuff definitely sounded different than everybody else's because I was approaching it from a very different place.
Finally, there was a director that I did a show with in Fort Worth that was like, hey, that was a great show. You have a good voice. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. And he goes, we do voiceover at Funimation. I was like, I know. Laura Bailey's been like dropping my name. I've never fucking heard of you before. It's like she hasn't said shit. He was like, we're having auditions for this new show called Full Metal Alchemist. Not interested. Dragon Ball Z though. Dragon Ball Z is done. And he's like, well, come audition for the show. It's cool. I'll send you the character sides. There's this guy named Roy Mustang. I was like, that's a cool name. And he's like, he's a flame alchemist. I'm like, sounds cool. Don't know what that means. And I went in and read for it. And I went in and I remember I was going in and I kept wanting to like power up. Like in the audition and be like, ah! And he's like, there's no fighting. And I kept trying to like act. And he was like, okay, you've never done this before. I'm like, no. And he goes, okay, just talk. Just talk. Stop trying to act. I can tell you're a great actor. I saw you on the stage. Just read the lines to me like you were talking to me.
And it was just enough of a taste to be like, well, this is fun. This plays into my love of theater. I don't have to be on camera. And I love anime and video games, and these kind of places where I'm starting to dive into.
Once I started to book a little bit of work in Los Angeles, somebody noticed that I wasn't a total coconut head. You seem like you've got a good head on your shoulders. Have you ever, do you know how to write? Do you know how to adapt? Do you know how to write? And I lied and said I did. I would get given a raw translation into English that didn't sound that great and didn't match the bada. And I just over years I probably adapted when I was still doing it, maybe 300 episodes of anime in English script. But I tried it with one, and they were like, great, that's good. Do the whole rest of this series. I love language, I love art, I love animation, I love imagination.
It turned into, oddly, like the path of least resistance. It just kind of started happening from there on out, and part of it was because I was a female actress with this lower vocal timbre. There's plenty of us out there, me and Courtney Taylor. So there are definitely smoky voiced women out there, but not as many.
First voiceover that I did was the cartoon version of Jumanji. And I played the little boy, and I was very young. And then after that, I did Recess. I feel like when any actor starts doing voiceover, they're like, oh, this is a dream. And it was super fun.
Like the first thing I ever really pursued professionally was Funimation. And I had a session and I didn't go to my recording session because I had a college orientation. Totally last minute, I was like, no, I can't make it to the session, and I went to the college orientation instead. And I got a phone call from like the president of Funimation afterwards. And he called me and he said, Laura, this isn't a college class. This is a production. This is a professional environment. If you schedule a session, you have to show up to it. And that was like when I realized, oh, I need to maybe stop going to school if it gets in the way. So I kept missing class to go to my recording sessions, and finally my film teacher in college just said, Laura, just stop coming to class. This is what you're coming to school for, and you're already doing it, so just go do it.
I didn't dig TV very much. It was a lot of waiting, and there was no feedback. Do a good job and nobody's like laughing or crying or applauding or anything. So instant laughs or instant yucks. You know, I'm a bit of a silly person sometimes, and it's probably because I'm like constantly fishing for some sort of reaction, because it's like drilled into my soul that you're not doing it right unless someone's reacting to it.
Sorry, Chief, I can't take the smell anymore. I'm going to jump out this window.
And thus concludes another adventure of Detective Clint P. McGinty.
I love voiceover because you're not confined by any of those other things. And the things that I love about theater, which is you're not confined by the way that you look, what your stature is, the color of your skin, what your voice sounds like. You can change all that shit with your voice. Really use your imagination. You're all sharing in this, inclusive participation of the mind.
I think with Ellie specifically, and I think because I've played the character for so long, it's the character that I've felt closest to. That was the first video game that I'd ever done. With this game in particular, and this experience, you never know how capable you can be. Like, you always hope that there's more. Like, you do something and you're like, I feel like I can do better. It became a new measurement for me, where I was like, oh, I didn't know I could get there emotionally and do that.
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
And you want to be working with people that you can trust that they're gonna make your performance the best that it can be. And I'm #blessed with that a lot, to get to work with different developers that really, they care. When we were working on Uncharted, and Neil, he called me on the phone and he's like, okay, let's talk about Nadine. And he's like, what's her favorite band? What's her favorite song? It's so weird to think about, what would Nadine do when she's just sitting at home?
You can play all kinds of different roles. You can be bad guys and good guys and animals and aliens and all kinds of great stuff. So it really is fun to just explore and express from your voice. Yes, there's nobody just applauding off screen, but you still do get a sense of play and improvisation sometimes.
Watching the natural flow of events that happens when you have creative people just moving a story forward has given me a better sense of how to move story forward and how to let people be people. And I've gotten faster on my feet. It's sharpened my skills. It's made me think about character. I've already thought about character, and now I think about character much more strongly. Improv is one of those skills that like is good to develop. It's very useful, but a lot of people decide that's everything that there is and then never leave. It's a weird like little lotus flower.
In role-playing games, that is such a visceral, primal experience of being able to gift to somebody this story and letting them take it and run with it and see where it goes.
That's what a natural 20 gets you.
Oh, fuck yeah! Detective! Right, Mauritius Bones!
There's a heart! Fucking plan, and I said, what if it's in the Happy Fun Ball? I said that a long time ago.
Oh. She is the best detective!
I'm such a good detective!
Good job, Jester!
It's this wonderful kind of creative baton pass. And it's one thing as an artist to create art and set it down and go, that is art I made. but where the real magic happens is where people perceive the art and then pull from that their interpretation, pull from it how it affects them, how it emotionally draws them to the piece. That little interaction between the creation and the perceiver of that art, that is the real magic. And in role-playing games, it's that moment of me going, this is a thing that I've built for you guys. Take it and do what you will.
We need comedy because it reminds us to laugh even at some of the worst things in the world. But we also need realness and sad stories in this drama to be reminded that life is hard. And at the end of the day, we can all relate to that.
The characters that we're bullshitting on the fly are actually like resonating with people in a way that that is, it's just on a much more personal level. And it's really cool. And it's also a lot of pressure to know that people are looking at the characters and they're seeing themselves in these characters in a very deep, personal way.
You can only hope that people will love something as much as you do. Like, you know, when we make stuff, all the stuff that we do here and the stuff that you work on, and especially the stuff that you care about, like you want everybody to like it and you want everybody to love it as much as you do, which is an impossibility.
It's the community around it. It's all the critters and all the people that have come together to support each other, to be there for each other, to share in their mutual passions, to show excitement and support for all their successes, and then be there to guide them and help them up in their failures. The community of hundreds and thousands and, God, even consider millions of people that have expanded beyond this little game is incredible. And I can't take credit for that. That's you guys. That's all of you. And I just want to do right by what they're all creating.
Well, this is the top, and so you have to pour it to that.
Yeah.
No hands!
You're the one who offered it.
Burrowing eyeball, are you sure? No, I mean...
Eldritch Blade.
I would like to pull out the deck of many things.
Don't compare yourself to me, it's an impossible task.
Are we there yet?
I could tell by the bone structure and the contempt.
Aye. You come to do business, ain't I?
On fire tonight.